And without wasting any time, I'm going to clear this off. This is what we did last time. I'm going to get rid of all this and also the CSS. Let me quickly say this again. What I just showed us is I used JavaScript in that page. But what we will learn this evening, we will try to limit whatever that we are writing to HTML and CSS. Though it is not best practice. I saw somebody saying that yes, only CSS can do the navigation. Yes, it's possible to do the trick with CSS alone, but it is not the best practice, meaning that it is not advisable for so many reasons, for accessibility reasons and for keyboard focusing. So for that reason, we are not going, if you're working on a real life project, you should not make your navigation responsive using only CSS. But like I said, this evening, we're going to focus only on CSS to get our navigation to work. So we're going to create a border plate, which we know what it is, and here we'll call it responsive navbar. Oh no, I don't need this. So I'm going to be observing a semantic. I'll use semantic elements, which is very important. The first thing I need to put here is the header section, because that is where our navigation resides. So I'll put the header section, and inside I'll put the nav. There are things that I'm going to use this evening. Probably it was not discussed in the class, but it's necessary that we use them. Yes, and I will explain why. Why that is necessary is because we are learning to become pros. We are learning to, practice, and we are learning to work with big industries. So what will actually qualify you to start working with any industry is your technical know-how, the best way you can, showcase your skills. And one thing that industries capitalize on is ensuring that the code that you're writing meets industry standard, focusing on ensuring that it is those who are using screen readers have access to read what is on the page with little or no stress. All right. So if that is the case, I'm not going to use a div element, but I'll use it very sparingly, meaning that we'll be careful where we use div and where we don't use it. So I'll open a div where I'll put in my logo, and my logo is going to be an image, which let me check if I have image here, lady. Just a second, let me get, I think I have the logo here, okay. I'll move this logo and I'll put it here. Alright, so I've just put in my logo. And that's it. My lab server is already on. And I'll just give it the alt text website logo, because we want to ensure that only CSS will help our navigation to work the way we want it to work. After this logo, I'm going to use a checkbox by calling the label element. This label is going to be for menu toggle, and I'm going to give it a class name of ham. I think this is the spelling. All right, I'll give it a class name of hamburger. In between this, I'm going to use an icon, a font awesome icon. But there is another way you can use font awesome icon, that will be much easier if you're not connected to the internet. That is using font awesome icon offline. And I think I should have it somewhere. I got it prepared somewhere here. Yeah, I'm going to get an offline font awesome icon that we are going to be using. Now, if you don't want to use font awesome icon, you can use your HTML elements to create something that looks like that. But for me, I feel is more like, wasting of too much time. So it's better we use our font awesome icon. So I have this one here. I will copy this and I'll put it inside. I'll put it inside my project file, and then from there we can access it without any stress. So this is my project file here. I don't have any CSS file, so I'll just paste it inside here. So from there, we want to get the hamburger icon that we want to be using. And let me check if I have any notification. All right, while waiting for this to copy, yes, we've got this and we've got this. So I'll put it in between the label. Immediately after the label, I'll now have to put my input, the input element here. And the input is going to take the type of checkbox, and I'll give it an ID of menu toggle. Give it checkbox. Now give it an ID. My VS Code is doing somehow this evening. I don't know why. So I'll save it. All right, it has finished copying, and if I open here, I should have my font awesome right here. That's good. So what I need to do, up here where I have my title, I'll link my CSS. I'll link the CSS, which is styles.css. This CSS here is this file that I have here. After that, I will also use the same link element to get the font awesome. So I'm going to grab this font awesome, go into the CSS, and I'll grab all.min.css. So I'll just have it like this. So I don't know if anybody, this should not be new thing to us, but if you're having any challenge understanding what I'm doing, please indicate. So here I've linked in my external CSS file and the font awesome icon. So in between this label right here, I'm going to put in my icon. I'll just put I dot, I'll be using some shortcut, I dot FAS, which is font awesome, and I'll put FA dash bars, FA dash bars. I'll have something like this. And when I save, so you should see on the page, here we have the icon showing already. And beside it, we have this checkbox. That is what we use to control this icon that is showing here. So our font awesome is working without the internet. Having done all this, now let's go and add our menu items. The menu items, we add it right underneath this checkbox. So here we call our unordered list, and then I like to give it a class name. I like to give it a class name of menu ul.menu, and then inside I'll just create the list items. Inside the list items, I'll put in the anchor element, use dead link, which is hash symbol. So I'll make a copy of this and maybe have like a couple of them. I'll just call this about, I'll call this services, and I'll call this contact. Okay, so on the screen now we have our navigation, which is inside unordered list, inside the nav element, inside the header section. So far this is what we have. Before we go to CSS, does anybody have any question? If you do, let me know. Then if there's no question, then we can move on. So remember up here, I've already connected my CSS file. So let's come right here. We'll come right here. I'll use the universal selector and then remove the margin by setting it to 0. Remove the padding by setting it to 0 also. And then box size, it should be border box. So this is okay. Font family, can start to give it a font family. Well, let's just give it a font family. And I think that's good for now. Straight up, we grab this nav elements, this nav, which is the parent container of all the items. So we call the nav element, and I want to set a background color. So whatever I mix up here, and maybe you don't understand, you just have to ask question, because that's just the way we see it. Let me choose another color here. So I'll be doing this randomly. I'll be doing this randomly so that we use it as targeting used to other naming conventions whenever we
Sorry, sir.
Yes.
Okay,
Sorry.
good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I've joined the class lately, so I don't know whether you can just, in fact, you can just summarize everything so that we'll follow properly. Sorry for interruption.
I should summarize what we're doing now. All right, Boniface. All right, Boniface, if you can hear me, What we are doing is we are focusing on creating a responsive navigation menu. And what we have actually done so far is adding the elements that we need using the HTML. We added our logo, we added the menu toggle icon, a checkbox, and the menu items, which you can see on this page. That's basically what we've added on our HTML. On the CSS, we only use this universal selector to do some resetting on our CSS by setting the margins of all elements, the margins and the paddings to 0. We set box sizing to border box, I will explain this later, and a font family to Arial, or alternatively a fallback font of sans serif. So that's basically what we've done. So if you are just joining, you can still follow, you will understand what we are doing. And what I was doing here,
Okay, I'm following.
okay.
Okay, I'm following now. I don't know whether after the class you can send those codes to my WhatsApp. I don't know whether you can do that later. Thank you, sir.
We have a recording of this class. Only with codes, I don't recommend that, but it's not good to do copy and paste when you're trying to learn something.
Oh, let's take it.
All right. So I don't want my system to go off in the middle of this class. So that's basically what we have done so far. Josephine, thank you for reminding me. I just see that chat that somebody was raising up hand. All right, so I just set background color of this to something that looks like white color, and I'll put the display I'll put it to flex, so which means we are using flex container, flexbox. I see that this young man here, they are running inside. So I put it right there. And the next thing, I'll justify content and align items. So to justify content, we put space between, and then align items, we put it to center. So what I will do next to this very quickly before coming back is to come here and call this logo, because the logo is really blocking everywhere. So here it has the class name of logo, and I will use it to control the size of this image. So I'm going to call the logo, and then that's not it. I would assign a width to it. If I put 100%, sorry, I'll put 100 pixels, not percent. Logo image with 100 pixels. I think something is wrong. Oh, this is log I used here, not logo. All right. All right, so this is what we have. I'll leave it to 100 pixels so that it remains small. This is our toggle button, checkbox, and our items are like this. Why? Because we use this flex container, and then we have set space between to justify the content. That's why each of them are spaced out, and aligning the items to the center of the container. That being said, I think I need to put in some padding there. This padding, please, when you are using padding for responsive design, it's advisable that you don't use how do I put it, static values. So I can use something like 2rem, all right, 2rem is good, or I use 1.2 rem instead of me using pixels. Pixels are static. they are static, they are not responsive. Okay, so what I did here is better than using pixels when you are making responsive designs. Please let's take note of that. And then this logo I'm using pixels here is because I just want to bring it down. Later on I'll fix it properly the way it has to be. So for now I think we're done with this nav, and let's leave it the way it is. Let's get to this menu, menu down here. I'm going to call the menu, and what we want to control at this point is this nav links right here. That's what we want to control. And I will also set the display to flex. Sorry, not block. We'll set it to flex. What is going on? Alright, we'll set it to flex. I would inspect this page so that I'll have it to show somehow in a bigger screen, so that, and it's going to be so tiny. No problem. I'll be switching full screen and not full screen with time, so that we'll see how it shows exactly. The next thing now to put is we want to get rid of all those default styling. So we'll use list style. The list style, we want to set it to none. We don't need any list style on it. Those dots, those full stops, sorry, they've all gone. And I'll copy this to hasten the process. I'll add the list items on the menu, and the list items, we just want to set some margins to the list items. So I'll get rid of these, and I put in some margins, 0, which is the top, and down I may put something like 1 rem to be spaced out. So that settles it. And we now have the anchor tag or the links themselves. So I'll paste the same thing again, and this time I will target the links on the navigation, that is bringing this underlined stuff here. So what I want to do with that is, first I want to remove it with the text decoration property. Text decoration, we want none. All right, and we can also add, it's not necessary to add additional spacing, it's already good. If you want to change the color of the text, you can do that now. If you want to change the, what is it called, if you want to change the font, want to change the font weight, is up to you to do what you want to do. So let me put it to 600, and I think basically this is good for me. I'm not going to do any thorough styling here because we have an objective in mind. So like this, select an ID, use the hash symbol, and what I need to do here is to put display to none so that it will be hidden from the screen. We don't want to see it right there on the screen because it's not part of the navigation. Now, if that is done, the next one that we need to take care of is that hamburger. So I'll call this hamburger styles. And in this hamburger, we can actually change the size, right? We can call the hamburger class, which is, all right, so here we have a class name of hamburger. That's what I want to call. And what we want to do here is we can change the font size of the hamburger itself. And maybe I'll put something like 2REM. It will be big like that. It depends on how big you want it to be. So I'll just try and reduce it a little bit. So let it not be too big. I'll put it something like 1.5. Okay. You can equally change the color or whatever, but I like the color. And we'll set the cursor to be pointer so that when you hover on it, to show this symbol. Then finally, we'll put the display to none. Yes, we don't want to see it now. So we have our navigation clean the way we want it to be. The logo by the left and the menu items by the right. Okay. Now we're making progress. So very quickly now we delve into the responsive design. So let me put another comment here, and I'll call this, just call it responsive styles. And for this responsive styling, we'll make use of the media query. So we declare the media query and we set a maximum width, which we are going to set first of all to 768 pixels. Why 768 pixels? Because this is actually the size of tablet screen. From here we can break it down. There are more other ones. All right. And for us to be able to see it side by side, I will inspect this page. And up here, I'm going to type the same value, 768. So it will show me the exact. So I'll type 768 here, press enter. So this is the size of 768. So when we start styling it, we'll now see. Is showing already, but we don't want it to continue showing. So we'll put the display to none. All right, so it should hide the menu. Other things we can add later on, but first of all, let's hide it. And after we have hidden it, I'll now call the hamburger the hamburger, I'm going to bring it back, and this display is going to be blocked. So that you to show here. You can see the hamburger is showing instead of the menu that is showing. Now, if that is done, then the next thing we need to look at, there are more styles to add, but let's bring it on one at a time. So inside here, we need to style the checkbox. Remember that we have a checkbox that is hidden that will help the menu items to show. So right here, let me show us the checkbox. This is the checkbox with the ID of menu toggle. So I'm gonna grab this man, and what I'll do here is I'll call the ID with a pseudo class selector, pseudo class known as checked. So I'll call this, and I'll pass in a pseudo class which is checked, and then this plus icon here, I know some of us might have read about it in W3 school. We'll call the menu, and inside here, what we want to display, want the display to be flex. I don't want to restart this VS Code. The thing is hanging, but I want to restart it. Not at all. So see what happens when I click on this checkbox. You see that it shows the menu. Though this is not the way it's supposed to show, but I'm just testing if this is working. So when I click on it, it hides. If I click, it shows. So what is going on here is like you are checking and unchecking the checkbox. That is what is bringing this behavior. So if I click, it does like this. If I click, okay. So this line of code here is working. Now let's go back and then to the menu and style it the way we want. If I click, it should show like this. That's not what we want. The display of the menu is none, but the flex direction, eventually if it shows, we'll set flex direction to column. All right, and then we can set a background color to it. Maybe let me put background, and we put something. Let's just put any color. Later on, change it. Let me put this color. I'll over on it and just give it any color. You can choose any color of your choice. It's just for learning purposes. All right. And another thing now is we set the position to be absolute. Yes, this absolute position is bringing it here. If I click, it should hide. This is where the absolute position is bringing it. And I'll set the top and the left positioning. You know, this property position takes some other values. So I'll set this to, I'll set it to something like 50, no, let me set 70. Okay, I want 70, and then the left should be 0, like this. So it should be on this side. If you want to position it to this side, it's also good. Want it to be at the center, so with this you can control it. Positioning takes the top down, the top, bottom, left and right properties, which helps you to position whatever, position your elements where you want it to be. So now I'm going to set the width of this to 100%. Yes, so that it will now fill in like this. So if I click, if it opens, it should show me something like this. And the text alignments, I'll use the text alignment to put the items to the center of it like that. Then to make it space out, I'll now use my padding. The padding now, the top and bottom, if I use 2 rem, it will be too wide. Okay, not so wide, it's okay. But let me just reduce it to 1.2, and then left and right to 0, because there is already gap at the left and right. You see, so like this, I click. Sorry guys for that distraction. So if I click on this icon, it hides. If I click again, it shows. But we need additional styling to make it look really nice. Yes. And for us to do that, we need to grab the lists, the menu items itself, not the list, the menu lists. So I'll call this Li, and I'll open. So let me just get what I have here. Okay, here we have margin to be 0.5 rem for up and down, and left and right is 0. So it gives us what we have on the screen. So if I click, if I reduce the screen, you see, as I'm reducing, once I cross 6, 7, once I cross 7, 6, 8, it changes to the normal items, the normal menu items like this. Okay, and it will continue to increase as the screen grows bigger. If I bring it down, once it gets into 7, 6, 8, it will change to that hamburger. This is responsive navigation. The styling may not actually be, that beautiful, but the concept, we understand the concept now. And like I said, this is not the best way of creating it. You should deploy the use of some JavaScript logics. It's very important. And then I would advise that somebody should go ahead and try that. So, do I have any question before we move forward? Your question?
Yes, sir. I was going to ask about the hamburger. You said the one you did now, you picked it from a folder in your system already. And you said we could use our HTML to create the hamburger. I don't know. How do we go about that? Using the HTML in case we don't have a folder for it or something. An icon.
Okay. I don't recommend using HTML to create it. It's just unnecessary long protocol, especially. But it's up to whoever wants to do that. But for me, it's unnecessary stress. That's why we have some libraries. So what I copied from my system, if you go on your search on your browser and you search for fonts awesome icons, you will see something like this. This first link, font awesome icons, you open it. So when you open the font awesome icon, you see something like this. Right on this navigation that you have here, you see get started. If I click on get started, you have an option of using CDN. CDN means that before you can use Font Awesome icon, you must be connected to the internet.
Sorry, sir, your screen is not showing.
It's not showing.
No, the screen is not on.
We can see it. I can
Oh,
see it.
okay. Maybe my network then. All right, go on, sir.
Can you see it now? Just the screen.
Just go ahead, sir. I will go ahead with the recorded class to the
Please kindly complete the explanation, sir, so that we get it once and for all.
All right. I want to be sure that the person who asked the question is getting what we are saying. So,
others are seeing your screen. Just go ahead. I will get it from the recorded class.
no problem. So I'm giving options on how to use this Font Awesome. The first option is by using a CDN link, and that CDN link you can get it from this Font Awesome website, or you go to another website called cdnjs.com. cdnjs.com. If you open it, this is what you have here. You just have this search button here. Just type in Font Awesome. As I type in Font Awesome, you see the link will pop up here. You click on this copy URL. If you click on copy URL, if I click on this now and I go to my VS Code, right here, I open the HTML. So I'm not going to use it, but let me just show us how it is. So if in here I paste, this is what you have as the CDN link. This is the CDN link. All right. So if I carry this now and I put it inside here. So if I carry this now and I put it inside here, where I have my offline link, it will still work. But I said for this CDN to work, it means that you have to be connected to the internet. Why? Because internet pulls those icons from the Font Awesome website. That's the first way you can do it. Now the second way is by downloading Font Awesome icons to your system. You can download it, and when you download it, then you can use it offline when you are on the internet and when you are not on the internet. And that is what I did. So for you to download it, if you search for Fonts Awesome icons, let us add download so that we'll go straight to the point. You see here, download Font Awesome free or pro. If I open this, just watch what's going to happen. Pardon the network, that is. So here we are. If I come down here, this is the version. If I click here, you see different version 6 and version 5. Alright. If I scroll down, here you have for web. Alright, which is exactly what we are looking for. For web, you have for free, you have for pro. If you are making a, how do I call it? If you are working on desktop applications, you can download this. So if I click on this for free for web to download, the Font Awesome will start downloading. You can see it is downloading here. And once it is done downloading, just give it a few more seconds to finish downloading. I would have to extract it and then start making use of it. Just hold on, it's going to finish downloading. Alright, so it's as simple as that. If you now go through this page, you can read through all of them. You will see there are some other assets. You can use it for Figma, whatever, those who are doing UI UX design and all what have you. Okay, so that is how to download the Font Awesome icon. Once it is done downloading, it is completed. I'll open the folder, and this is where it is. I'll right click to extract here, and the extraction should not take much time. There we go. I've extracted it. If I open it, this is what you have. Here we have web fonts, and we have the CSS Font Awesome icons. So, like this now, I can copy this folder. Include it in my project file, and then connect this CSS inside the CSS all.min.js, this first one. That's what I connected here. You can see from the folder Font Awesome CSS all.min.js. Connecting it, once I connected it like that, while this is the folder is inside my project file, icon, then with the class name, you pass in the name of the particular icon you are looking for. This first name, FAS, represents Font Awesome, and then the second part of the name represents the icon itself. So this is what exactly I did, but I had downloaded it ahead of time before this class. That's why I only went to copy, paste, and linked it here. Let me also explain that doing it like this is not the best or the bestest option, if there's any language like that, because what is happening is that anytime you run your page, Font Awesome, your page is going to load all the fonts that is included in this CSS, in this folder. With maybe in the next class, we'll look at how we can make use of the subsets of this. You will select the icons you need and then delete every other wanted one. The file will be lighter and it's good for performance, for speed, page speed. It improves page speed and all of that. We just get these web fonts, put them on our file instead of copying the whole content from here. So I don't know if I have attempted to answer that question asked. That was
Yes, sir, it's clear now.
all right. Thank you. So, guys, we have another question. Let's ask before we go to the second part of what we want to do today, because we have objective, which is the first one is to create responsive navigation, which we have done. All right. The second part of the objective is to create a responsive hero section. And that hero section, I'm going to build it on this nav. So let everything be on the same page. What is an hero section? Hero section is a very important part of a website. Yes, because that is the part that capture people's attention. When people visit your website, that is where you have the largest texts. Any text, the H1 text is there, the picture, the banner or the picture, whatever you want to call it, is there. So it is a point of attraction on a web page. And as such, caution must be given in creating it. It's not something that you just, create haphazardly. You pay attention to creating it in order to ensure that everything works as expected. That is why that section is really, really very important. Okay. So what do we do from here? Let's add the code that we need. After adding the code, then we add the CSS. So under this code, I'm going to close some of these things. The header section, I'll close it. So after the header section, I'll add another semantic element called main. And in this main, I'm going to add an ID to it. I'll put my sign. The ID, I'll call it main-contents. So, and I can give it a role, right? Just for accessibility purposes. This is good for screen readers. The role here, I'm giving it main. Remember what we are doing here is for best practice. So underneath the main section, I'm going to call another semantic element, which is section. And this section, I'll give it a class name called hero. Sorry, I'll put dots, hero. And I will also give this one another attribute called the area label by. This also is good for screen readers. I'll just call this hero heading or hero section, whatever you want to call it, that describes this particular part of the code. Let me resize this. I want this to be bigger. Okay, it's better this way. So if that is done, then I'll create a div in between here. This div, I'm going to call it overlay. Overlay because there is, sorry, I'll give it descriptive name. I'll call it hero dash overlay. I'll give it overlay because we need to overlay a text. We overlay a text on an image. So in my CSS, I will not have to struggle finding out where is this particular class and where is not that class. If that is done, I'll now put in my h1 element with a class name of hero. I'll call this hero title. You can call it hero heading, but I already have that hero heading somewhere here. Though it is not a class name, you cannot style it. But let me just leave hero title here. And what I'll just give as text is welcome to my website. Good. After the heading, it's good you give a description with a paragraph. And I'll just get in the lorem text. Good. And after this paragraph, I'll just call in an anchor element with a class name. I'll call it hero-btn, which is hero button. The href, I'll use a dead link. And here you put a call to action. Is either you call it maybe get started, read more, or learn more. Let's use learn here. Okay, so this is what we have on our page so far. And I think that's, for now, that is the only HTML we need. These things, that's the only HTML we need. Then we go ahead and use our CSS. Before we proceed to the CSS, I want to bring in the image that I want to use here. This image, let me check. Okay, yes, let me use this image. No need of bringing in another one. It's good. So, guys, we are good to go. Let's head back to our CSS. Now,
Sorry for the break. Sorry, sir.
go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
I'm with you.
Before we move ahead from this session, I want to. Why are we using the word hero? As in, is there any peculiarity for using that word hero? I just want to understand the concept.
Okay, there is no number one is hero is not an element. Hero is just a class name. So there's no semantic meaning to that word hero, but I would rather say it's just a convention. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Hello, Mr. Taiwo.
No, there was a break in the last part. Sorry. You
I
are
said,
saying it's not an element. That you, yeah.
this hero is not an element, it's just a class name. And it is a class name that describes the most obvious part of a website. And I said we use that name just like a convention. You understand? It's not as if it has any special meaning. It does not affect the accessibility or the visibility or the performance of the page. But me as a developer, once I see it, I know what it stands for on that website.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question?
Yes, sir. There's another question, sir. Sorry, this is the first time I'm hearing the word REM. That REM. So, please, sir, I don't know whether a little light will be thrown, sir.
Okay. REM. I'll put something. If you're on our platform, the beginners platform, I'll put something there to explain that, because I'll put something there to explain that after this class. But if you're not there, reach out to Josephine. She'll add you to the platform, and then I will put something to explain those REM, M, and the rest of them. So that is not something I'll start explaining now. Do you understand? So I'll put information
Thank you,
about
sir.
that. Another question.
Yeah, it's taking, sir.
You're welcome, Boniface. So can we continue now? So we'll come back to question later on. Okay. Now I was about to say something. Separation of concerns. Please. You see that this CSS file only for the Navbar is 74 lines by my code here, 74 lines. So if I add that of the hero section, it's going to definitely be longer than this. So at this point, you can decide to separate concern. And what does that mean? You can decide to create a folder here. Create a folder, and you call the folder CSS. And in that folder, you pull this CSS and put it inside here. I move my CSS here, and I will rename this to match only my navigation section or my header. You understand? You can start to do that. Then I'll create a new file, call it hero.css, in such a way that if my page has a problem regarding a CSS, I know exactly where to go, which folder to open, and then rectify the problem. But at this point, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put anything on this folder yet. I just remembered now and I said, let me explain because it's not too much yet. If we get to 500 lines, we can think of another code. Rather, we use a comment, and then here we'll call this one, I'll call this one hero styles. In the hero styles, the first thing we'll do, let me put it side by side like this. So the first thing we need to do here, we need to style the hero, which is the section container. I mean the section itself, the section element. I'll grab that hero class name and I'll put it here, and then I will set the positioning of this hero to relative position. That is 1. 2, I'm going to set the width to 100%. All right. Why? Because we are going to use an image there. The same thing, the height, I'll set it to 100 view height. That is VW, meaning it's not a percentage, but it sets an automatic height for whatever we are putting inside. Now, after doing that, let me add the background image by calling this background image property, and I would use the URL value. Inside the URL, I will now specify where my image is located. So the image is in a folder imgs, and I'm using this ladies. So I have set the background image, and if I put this, you see that the background image is covering everywhere, full page. So we need to control this image, and the image is repeating because somewhere here, that's the end of the image, is adding extra layer.
Hello, Kemi. Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes. Who is talking, please?
I think he was on a call, sir. Please go ahead.
All right, so now we have set background for this image. Now we have to control the image to make sure that it does not misbehave. I can start bringing up, if I put in here background image repeats, I'll set it to no repeats. All right, I'll put background image again, position, I'll put it to center. All right, and each of these things I'm doing is realigning the, what is it called, the image. Now the last one, I'll put the background size to cover. Then when I open this, you see that it's no longer repeating itself. It has stretched the image. The single image has covered the entire page, and because of the center, that's why it seems it's cutting the head of this pretty lady here. So if I comment out this one, see what happens. That's one shows. You see, this is how it is. But when you use the position to the center, then it will show you the middle of the image. That's what happens when I put this line back. It's now showing us the middle of the image. You can leave all these 3 things like this, or you can add them on the same line with this one. So whichever one, if you're already used to all this, no need of putting them one at a time. You can just come and put here, no repeats, put you put no repeats, you put center, and then you put cover. So I will delete all these ones. And then there is a problem. Let me find out what the problem is. It should work. No repeats. Center. Alright, no problem. Later I'll figure out all this. Let's return to status quo. Alright, so this is what we have. Let's leave it the way it was. But actually, if you put it all on a straight line, I don't know why this one is not responding. It should give you the same answer. Now this is done. Let us put our display to flex. Yes, we must use our flex container. Display to flex, align items to center, justify content to center. Let me first call this one. Alright, sorry guys. Justify content center, align content to the center. Why this is to put this text to the middle of the image, because we need it to be at the middle like this. That is what justify content and align content does. And then finally, we are going to align the text. We're going to align, we're going to use the text align to center. This is not text. Okay. So we have something like this. That's the first thing that we are doing. But that's not all. To add more flesh to it, we put an overlay. Alright? Why that overlay is so that this text will be more readable. And for us to do that, we use a pseudo class. So let me just put in something here, overlay. And I'll call the hero section again. And I'll use pseudo class before. Then what I'll do here is I'll use the content. This content will be empty content. So just put empty. And then position should be absolute, not relative. We put it absolute position. The top left, top should be 0, left should be 0. Now. Okay. The top should be 0. Yeah. The left should be 0. The width and the height should be 100%. And this background here, what we are setting here is just the opacity. You see now that the picture is somehow dark in such a way that if I change the color of the text, it will be more readable. That is the objective of what we did here. So we had some color overlaid on this picture. So for you to change the density of this overlay, you increase the opacity. If you increase it to 7, the higher the number, the darker it becomes. But if 2, see that it becomes somehow light. To 4 is lighter, right? To 5, so let's leave it to 5. You can experiment with your own and then see how you get that to work. What next do we need to do? Let's style the text content or the text elements. At this point, we are going to the HTML. In the HTML, we have some text. Here we have, in this div element, we have in the head, the hero title and the paragraph. The div has a class of hero overlay. So this is what we want to handle this time. I'll copy that class name and we put it here. Hero overlay. We want to style the hero overlay. And we'll start by setting the position to be relative, not inherit. We set it to relative, and then here we can set our the text. Sorry, this is not closed. Okay. The color of the text. If I put white color FFF, you see now it's very legible. But it's left to you, completely left to you to decide which color you want to use. But let's leave white for this demonstration. Okay. Now, I want to set width for this content. And I will not just set width because we are trying to do responsive hero section. I will use max width so that it does not exceed a certain width. If I put 500 pixels in this case, so it will bring it to the center of the page like this. Okay, so if you increase it, then it will expand and so on and so forth. Or I'll put something like 600 pixels. Okay, then I will now put my padding. This padding here, I'll put something like 1.2 rel, and then it's not really showing much. Let's leave it that way. Let's now grab only the H1. This one, this is H1 text, but it is looking small. Let us now take care of this H1. I will call the hero H1. Look at the hero. We call this hero. Inside this hero, we have this H1. So we call hero H1. And first, we set the font size to maybe 2.5 rem. That will bring it up a little bit. Yeah. And then you can set the color. I want to change this color to, let me just select any color and change it to what I want. I'll change it to something like this. This is my own design, so you can go ahead with your own design later on. Okay, this is how I want it to be. And I want to add margin bottom so that I'll create space between the heading and the paragraph. I will put 1 rem. Yeah, that's cool. For me, that's how I want it to be. So you can continue adding your own styling and all of that. I'll just copy this and then paste again. This time around, I want to style the paragraph, and I will give the paragraph 1.2 rem, the text. You see that 1.2. Okay, I don't want it to carry the same color. I don't want it to carry the same color, so I'll just give this one black. 000. Black, no, black will not be fine. Black won't be nice because the background color is already white. So let me leave this color out of it. We have set a white color before. Let me leave this out of it. I'll set the margin button to 1 rem because there is a button right here. So it will create equal spacing up and down. That's why this one is here. For the color, let's leave it the way it is. What else do we need to style? Let's come back here. This should be a button. We have an anchor element here with a class name of hero btn. I'll copy this one and I'll come here. I'll just call a btn styles. Then I'll put this here. I'll call this. So the first thing we add here is the display. Remember, it's not a paragraph, it's not a button, it's just an anchor element. For that, we put in inline block. Inline block. Just go and then read a little bit about that. Then we put in background. We need to set a background for this, and the background, let's call it black. From here, I will choose another color, maybe a color that matches the first. Okay. Let me copy this and then replace this one because I want it to have a uniform color. Okay, something like this. I'm not good with color, so you can do better, right? You can do better. I want to add some padding. Let me add padding of, it's going to be much, but I know, let me see how it looks. Yes, I know. It's going to be much, so I'll add 0.5 rem. Yes, 0.5 rem by 1.5 rem. Okay. Border radius, because I want the edge to look, I want the edge to look nice. I will give this one 5 pixels, so the edge will look like this. That's good. And we need to add a little more text decoration. We want the text decoration to be none. We don't need that underlining stuff. So we don't want the text to be underlined. And the font weights, we want it to be bold, or you can just choose any number, that 600, 700, 400, whichever one. If that is done, you see that we already have something very nice. So let's also add the text. If I make this full screen, you see, the text looks somehow not big. So you can go ahead and control the font size. Font size 1.1 rem. Just slightly increase it, or you put 1.2 rem. It's up to you. Remember, this is all right. So we have the font size 1.2 rem. If you like, you can set a border to it. If you want to put in a border, if you want to put in any other thing, you can just go ahead and add as much styling. But this basically, okay, let me change the color to white. Oh, yeah, I think white should be fine. No, white is not fine. Black. Black is better. Myself, I don't like it, but sure, we're still learning. All right. One last thing I want to add to this, I like transitions a lot, animation kind of. I'll put background is 3 seconds, and what that means, if you reload, you see that the thing it behaves like something like a PowerPoint or something. Just give one kind uh, stylish transition like that. So like this, we are good. Very quickly, let's go to the responsive section. Responsive section. So you can style it. This is basic style.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
I can hear you.
Yeah, well done. Please, I missed how you set the picture. It has been challenging. Anytime I style on my when I'm practicing web designing, or maybe I write an HTML code and I'm trying to insert a picture. I usually have problem in setting the image. Please, can you reiterate on how you set this image? Can you please reiterate? I lost. I was thrown out of network the other time. I bet. Can you reiterate on how you set the picture? How you set the image before we proceed?
All right, it's quite simple. It's a background image, and the background image was set in the CSS. Right, where is that? Here in the hero section, which is the parent container in our HTML, right here. Okay, so I added background image. This is it here. When it's call your property background image, you set a value of URL. Inside the URL, you pass the location of the image. That's the only thing I do here. And then this additional 3 lines, background repeat, no repeat, is so that the image does not repeat itself, as in create a clone of itself, especially when that image is not large enough to cover the entire page. For you not to have problem on different devices, it's good you set background repeat to no repeat. And also it's good that we use a large size image, so that if somebody views your site on a large screen, the image won't have to pixelate, I mean get distorted and look ugly. So background repeat, no repeat makes the image to be just one, not to duplicate itself. Positioning center brings the center of the image. You can use all right, guys, sorry for that disconnection. My screen is messing up. I mean, my internet is messing around. So I was explaining this background position sets the middle of the image, background size cover. This background size cover, we have other properties. We have something like contain. If I set contain, you see that this image will only appear the normal size. You see, this is the size. If I put cover, it will stretch out, make sure that it covers the entire page. So this, Mr. Taiwo, this is basically what we've done. But to bring your image as a background image, this line, background image, you pass in the location of your image, and voila, you gotta have it there. I think that I've answered the question.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
All right, so if you're on your system, you keep on trying it. And before we close, you may ask another question. So as I was saying, I want to resize this. Let's check the responsive, how responsive this can be. And I will inspect this, and I'll key in here 768. So you see what happens here, 768. Oh, I've scattered it again. Sorry, yeah. 768. It looks not bad. It looks not bad, but you still have the choice of maybe touching one or two things to ensure that everything is still okay, by maybe increasing the size of the text. In my case here, the only thing I will do is I'll come here, put hero responsive design, and I'll call the media query. Remember, it's not only 768. You can we can create some other breaking points like 991, 1024, 480, 400. Just break them down to make sure that no device will complain about your website. That's very important. But I'm using 768 because at least from this tablet mode, you can, experience some level of responsiveness going downward. So I'll call the hero H1, and I'll just pass the font size to it. I'll pass font size to it, and I'll just give it 2 REM like this. Or you can increase it. Let's see whether I increase it to 4. How is it going to look like? You see? So you can decide to increase it 3 REM. However, it's going to be, and it will look very readable. That is fantastic. The same thing I will do to the paragraph. I'll put P, but in this case, I will not leave it at that. I'll leave 1.2 maybe, and okay, 1.2 pixel REM. That should be fine. The button also, you can decide to touch the button a little bit. Here we have this button where you can increase. What are you going to increase here in the button? Button, maybe the font size of the button. So if I copy this here, and I'll bring it inside this place, and I'll paste. Remember, the smaller the screen, when you have a small screen, you need to make those things big so that somebody can easily touch it. So I'll get rid of the parts that I don't want. The background, display, everything is okay. So the font size, maybe I increase it to 1.8 pixels. Okay. And that's all. Maybe every other thing, I should just let every other thing go. Transition is already there. And case close. If I bring it down, if I'm resizing it, it's going down, 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 down. It's not bad. But like, please, just try as much as you can to make sure that you create some media queries. This is 768. You can create 991. You can create. Some people create 520, 512, or 480, 400. Create them. Change some of the text, and you see that your hero section is good to go.
Just for us to be on the same page, how do they arrive at those number? All those 768. How do they arrive? just for knowledge sake, so that it will be easier to apply. How do they arrive at those figures, those numbers?
Okay. The objective of responsive design is to make sure that your page adapts to different screen sizes. So those numbers represent different screen sizes. It's not just manufactured from nowhere. They represent different screen sizes like um how do I put it? A smartphone, iPhone 12 Pro Max. Look at this page now. If I click here, you see iPhone 12 Pro. The width of that page, the width of the screen is 390 pixels. That is for iPhone 12 Pro Max. If I choose something like iPad Air, the screen size is 820 pixels, the width. You see, that is where they got all the sizes from this, the number, the width of the screen that we use to create breaking point. If I select another device here like Samsung
So basically, does it mean, are you with me?
S2360, let's decide the width of the page.
Are you with me?
So are you with me?
Hello?
Guys, is my width of the page. So are
Hello?
you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you now. So does it mean that basically once we've set the meta tag for responsive device,
Guys, is
and you
my screen
hello?
visible? I'm with you.
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You see, basically when we set the meta tag,
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Good. Somebody should help me tell him I can hear him. I can hear you, sir. Guys, is anybody hearing me? Or is it my network? I mean, I'm with you.
So to wrap
I
up
can
this,
hear you.
does it mean that once you have set the tag, meta
I
element,
can hear you. You say basically when we set the meta tag,
for the responsive device, once you have set that one inside the HTML, and once you do the inspect as you have done here, so we going to always see these different devices? Is this something that is
I hear you. I
as
can
in?
hear you.
Is to go to the browser, right click, and then you see inspect at the drop down button, is very at the very bottom. You see the inspect, and then you can inspect. Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah, and I will always have access to see if I want
Yes.
to if I want to have as many responsive device sizes. I will always
Just there's a scroll down button at the top of the page. Once
okay,
you inspect, you see the different sizes. You can increase and decrease as you want.
okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
Sorry, sir, your line was breaking. We had to respond to him. So maybe you can just add more to his question.
Yes, thank you, Josephine. Thank you very much. You have answered him correctly. So, but I want to add again is this in the HTML, what we add, the meta tag that we add in HTML, it is not what makes you to see the inspect page. The inspect page, what you are seeing here is a developer tool that is built into Chrome browser. But in the HTML, what this meta element helps you to do, what this meta element here helps you to do, this viewport meta element is it helps your page to adapt to responsive design. That is just this short and long explanation or what I can add to what Josephine had answered you. So it's as simple as that. But at every point in time, you can access the inspect page or the developer tools on the Chrome browser. And I think that's it. Is there another question?
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. So, if there is no other question, like I said, please, this one is not the complete or the most wonderful responsive design. I want you to make your own design that looks more beautiful than this. Okay, make it look more beautiful and more beautiful than this. So we have looked at navigation, navbar responsive design, where if I click on this button, hold on, it is not responding, I don't understand. If I click on this button, it should show. You see what is going on now? So if I'm clicking, it is showing, oh, but it is hiding behind this hero section. How do we solve that problem? Our navigation is not coming up here. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Somebody should just tell me what we have to do. Because if it's like that, our navigation will keep on hiding under.
I think you are going to set the responsive something for the menu bar too. You are going to set the responsive. You are going to do at media whatever to target the menu bar as well.
No. That one is already done. At me, the responsive design for menu is already done. What I'm saying is that the menu is hiding behind this picture. If I click here, it's supposed to show us our menu items, but it is showing behind. Okay, let me just show us what is going on here. If I click here, I click again. At this point, it should show something behind this young man that is here. This one is, he came here and is relaxing on top of what we are doing here. So let us look at, there is this indexing property that we need to add. We need to bring the navigation to the front. So let's come to this media query here where we have the menu item. So let's see if this one will set the stuff. If I put Z index, and let me put it to 200, and I save, and it is showing in front. What actually is happening here is this Z index is like stacking element on top of another. So what I did is I made this navigation elements inside our responsive design to come to the front. Let it give it like 100 space, 100 times gap. So if we have other things underneath, our item should also always be at the top. So that has settled our problem, that gap. I want to close it up, and that's just it. So we have our responsive navigation, we have the hero section, and that's it. All right. If we have any further question to ask, let's ask questions